Welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Friday night after the bell. But tonight we are recapping on Saturday because I went out for the Phillies game. My name is John Zindel. This is Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, you got to see a great Major League Baseball playoff game last night, and
Yes.
then you came home and caught SmackDown on a little tape delay there. I
Mm-hmm.
caught it live, so we'll see. Maybe if our views have changed a little bit 24 hours later. But without further ado, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown, October 20th, 2023?
Dom, top story is the main event, which was a wrestling match. Io Sky goes over Charlotte Flair in a dirty finish, I'd say,
Yeah.
and a lot of interference. But overall, a pretty good performance by Io and Charlotte, both excellent workers. And
Yes.
I like this match, and I like whenever they have a match in the main event. So, what did you think of this one?
It started out awkwardly because it looked like they were trying to figure out how they should work the match. I mean, a
Mhm.
match like this should basically be like a Rey Mysterio match
Yeah.
with Io Sky being Rey Mysterio and Charlotte Flair being, the other big wrestler who's just bigger and stronger than Rey Mysterio. And it took a while for them to get that dynamic going. The
Mhm.
second half of the match was better. The match finishes with a neat wrinkle that I don't think I've seen exactly done this way before.
Mhm.
I'll give you a way back callback to the Monday Night War era that this reminded me of. But um, while Charlotte is distracted on the outside and climbing back into the ring, um, she basically attacked Bailey outside, finally getting fed up at Bailey's interference. Um, she returns to the ring after beating the crap out of Bailey. And
Mhm.
Io Sky, who is just starting to recover, has her title belt that Dakota Kai slid to her. And she holds it close to her midsection, knowing that Charlotte's going to go for the spear again. Charlotte spears her and basically knocks herself out, head into the title belt.
Mhm.
Ref doesn't see that part of it. Io slides the belt out of the ring quickly and just covers Charlotte for the 1, 2, 3. Neat finish. It's a heel move by Io Sky.
Big time.
It's kind of a baby face look for Charlotte. So there's a lot that's confusing about this. Then after the match, Bailey and Io Sky are beating down on Charlotte Flair, and Bianca Belair makes her return to save Charlotte. Uh, Neat, but I mean, I'm a little confused as to what's going on. It looks like WWE Creative is trying to insist that Io Sky is a heel, even though the crowd wants to go in a different direction. So she wins totally heel tonight.
Mhm.
Um, but does that mean they're trying to make Charlotte a babyface, even though that didn't work too well? And Charlotte seems to like being the heel. And what does this make Bianca Belair returning to Cheers? Where is that going? And Bianca seems to be the easiest as a babyface, although you noted that towards the end of her run, before she went on her hiatus, the crowd was starting to get a little tired of her.
Yeah, they were
So
booing her.
this leaves us with a lot of questions. It's great to see the talent out, and it's great to see that they gave us a title match with some top performers for the main event. But a lot of questions here. Where do you want to go with this? I don't know if you want to go match spots and some of the dynamics of Io and Charlotte working together, or do you want to just go, hey, look what we saw at the end here.
I am interested to get your what was a callback to, because I thought this was a callback to the Bret Hart Goldberg spot. Did you see that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Mhm.
When Bret Hart had something under his big old hockey jersey and Goldberg just speared him, and then Goldberg is just down.
Mhm.
And nobody can figure out why until Bret Hart like staggers up because he still took the spear and
Mhm.
then just reveals that he had something under his jersey.
Yeah, that one went over a little bit smoother than the finish in the main. That one was actually really awesome
Yeah.
and a really creative spot, and the crowd really understood it because it's Bret Hart. He's the best ever, one of the best ever, and he really executed it well.
Was
But
this executed well, though? I thought it was. I mean, for what they were trying to do, I thought it worked because they set up the whole misdirection that Charlotte's distracted, and the
mhm,
ref is distracted, so nobody really sees Io do that, and she hides it well,
yeah,
and then turns just at the last moment so that Charlotte wouldn't be able to just stare her down and say, "Hey, get that title belt out of the way."
right,
Like,
right.
what did you think of how they executed this? Because not all the timing was great in these matches, but
Mhm.
this finish seemed to be. I thought it was done as about as well as you could do what they were trying to do with all the moving parts.
Yeah, I think I mean, like, I kudos to them for doing a creative spot to finish
Yeah,
it, and I think it was pretty well executed. The only thing was I had to rewind it because I was so confused because I didn't necessarily. It might have been the camera angle, but then Cole did a good job, kind of being like, "Oh, she has the belt. That's what happened." I was like,
yeah,
so I think the live crowd. I'm curious. I'd be curious if the live crowd caught it, but I think the TV crowd caught
yeah. Especially when they showed the replay from a different angle.
it. Hmm.
So if you're watching SmackDown and they do the instant replay, they gave us another angle where you could clearly see Io tucking the belt and then turning into the spear. Um, and that's something I've wondered about. WWE does such a good job of producing for television, but you wonder if the live crowd is left out of that.
Hmm.
We talked about that, and you brought that up very astutely when Jey Uso quit SmackDown. Like, we all heard him on the TV telecast because the roving camera was right up in his face, and you can still hear that. But the
Hmm.
live crowd had no idea that he just said, "I'm done with WWE. I'm done with SmackDown."
Hmm.
So this may have been another case where that was, something that the live crowd's going, "Wait, what just happened?"
Right. Um, Overall, though, a good match and a good opener, or excuse me, a good main event, and just really high level stuff for me. I love when we see wrestling in a main event rather than a promo because we got plenty of promos tonight. Um, and I'd say Io and Charlotte both worked pretty well together.
Hmm.
But that's because Io's been for my money, I really liked Io whenever I see her on the screen. And Charlotte, of course, is very solid.
Of course.
Um, so anything else you want to talk about here with this match?
Yes, some interesting spots that they worked with, because when they finally picked it up into Charlotte is obviously the bigger, stronger wrestler,
Yeah.
and they just went with that. After the first commercial break and they're back, there's a spot where Charlotte tries to push Io over the top rope, but Io hooks her under the shoulders with her legs for a kind of a variation on a Hurricane Rana, and they both tumble over the top rope. Then once they get out there, Charlotte counters another Hurricane Rana attempt on the floor by just, she's the bigger, stronger wrestler. She just doesn't go with the move. Now she's got Io in almost a power bomb setup, but then she turns and drops backwards. Io goes face first into the ring apron.
Hmm.
That was a creative spot, and boy, Io sold that beautifully. Like,
Hmm.
she hit that ring apron, feet were flat on the ground, and she just pivoted just a little bit and boom, fell backwards. Like, she sold that beautifully, and they went to the second commercial off of that. Um, Sunset flip out of into a sit out power bomb for a 2 count was Io's first real move where she had Charlotte in jeopardy. Charlotte does a beautiful fall away slam from the second turnbuckle for a 2.5 count. Um, they had Io had done the springboard missile drop kick earlier in the match. The second time she went for it, Charlotte was ready for it. So that really shows you that Charlotte's working heel.
Hmm.
Because if Charlotte's Charlotte's working baby face, I mean. Because if Charlotte's the heel, then the first attempt misses and the second one hits. But
Yeah.
since Charlotte's the baby face, the first springboard missile dropkick hits. The second time Charlotte is ready for it, catches it, and turns it into a Boston Crab, um, which was really cool. But then Io slid out and countered it into a roll up. So good reversals from the two of them. And then Charlotte getting to her feet uh, after let's see here. Io goes for a top turn moonsault. Charlotte gets her feet up. And now Io is just dazed, and that's when Charlotte spears the life out of her. But she's too close for the ropes. Bayley puts her foot on the ropes. And wow, it was perfect timing by Bayley. He just got it there and yelled to the ref, ref, ref.
Yeah.
So like, once again, Bayley, she's just on the outside as an auxiliary component to the match, but she's perfect in everything she does.
Mhm.
And that sets up the second sequence. So I like where they got to in this match after the second commercial break. The work was better. They had kind of found their groove into what role from as far as ring psychology goes that each one was supposed to be playing. Um, this was a better match at the end than it started out with, especially since when they started the match, they wrestled for like 15 seconds and took us to first commercial.
Right.
Like, why not just go to commercial after Charlotte makes her entrance? Because she's going to stand out there for 4 minutes anyway with a song playing.
Right. I know.
Why do the intros, have them lock up 15 seconds and you're at commercial? Come on.
I know.
Give us better TV than that.
We
But
have. I'll tell you what. With all the different apps and the streaming, I don't watch a lot of cable TV. So often, sometimes when I'm watching SmackDown, I'm like, "Oh my god, there's so many commercials. I forgot about this." You know. But yeah. Overall, good match.
do you like
And
Bianca coming back? And is this the right scenario for her to make her return? It's been maybe a month and a half, 2 months.
yeah, I think it's a good idea to give her a bit of a break because the crowd was kind of turning on her a little bit, and
Yep.
I was either you turn her heel, and I like giving them a break, and you don't see them for a while, and they come back, and it's like, oh, she's back. She's I don't have to see her every week, and then suddenly she's back. So, um, but she's fantastic in the ring. So looking forward to seeing her for sure in some matches. All right, Dom. Well, that's the lead, and that's our main event. So we're going to go into our next segment here, folks. The follow, where we
Yep.
talk about
Walk it on down the line.
the rest of We're going to talk about the rest of WWE SmackDown.
Second biggest thing that happened here, I think it was the opening segment with LA Knight, who comes out after Paul Heyman's in the ring, announces the crown jewel matchup between Roman Reigns and LA Knight. And I just want to rewind this to, I think it was last week, where we were talking about, who do we think could take the belt from Roman and when do we think it would happen? And I made the comment that it's got to be at one of the big four pay-per-views. It's either got to
Yeah.
be WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, or Survivor Series coming up. And then I made the thing. So whoever's facing Roman at Crown Jewel, sorry, you're not winning the belt.
Right.
And that was before they even announced that Roman would have a match at Crown Jewel. But I just threw that out there. Well, now it looks like LA Knight and Roman Reigns are going to have a title match at Crown Jewel. And now I don't know how to feel about this because, I don't want this to be LA Knight's push into an obvious loss.
Yeah, I thought that I thought the same thing. I was like, it's cool he's getting a title shot, and I wonder what they'll do during the match where you could potentially say, "Oh, LA Knight should have won," but nobody's going to beat Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia at the show. So, and even with that in mind, why wouldn't you just throw like somebody from the mid card? Give them an opportunity. But maybe there's the other element where you want big people at the pay per view, and LA Knight's one of the big guys, I believe, in WWE right now.
LA Knight is a fast rising star. Roman
He's red
Reigns,
hot.
Roman Reigns has got to be at Crown Jewel, and because they have a lot of other people at something else we'll talk about, they had a limited roster to go to Crown Jewel. So maybe it's going to be one of those really efficient, well put together 5-match pay-per-views that, you and I like when it's Saturday night and it doesn't go 4 hours.
Yes.
But this will
Right.
be on a Saturday afternoon. I think it's scheduled to be 1 p.m. Eastern time here in southern New Jersey for us.
And folks, we will be recapping the Saudi Arabia show.
Yes, we will be
Crown
going
Jewel.
live after we're planning to go live after Crown Jewel that Saturday afternoon.
Mhm.
So maybe they're going to do a real efficient pay-per-view for that. And so, what do you think of this opening segment where Roman's not there? It's just Paul Heyman in the ring, and it's LA Knight and Paul Heyman. having a mic exchange. They do this a lot with Paul Heyman. They did that with Cody Rhodes, and I understand them not wanting to have Roman Reigns here this week as well, because next week with the baseball playoffs, SmackDown's going to be on FS1. And so
Uh,
they're trying to advertise Roman Reigns will be here next week to see if they can retain as much audience as possible when the show shifts to FS1.
mhm.
So next week is the show everybody has to pay attention to, even though some people who don't pay that much attention are probably going, "Where's SmackDown?" But it's going to be on FS1 apparently.
Right.
So this week it's just you just get an appetizer. Um, Frankly, the whole SmackDown felt like that. It felt like this was appetizer SmackDown.
Mhm.
Everything here was an hors d'oeuvre for Crown Jewel.
It was it feels like a bit of a filler show because
Right?
this was all kind of promos and you had different segments and promos just setting up matches for Crown Jewel. So maybe we could talk about what I thought was the best match of the night.
Okay.
Um, Santos Escobar versus Montez Ford.
Yeah, it follows this in-ring promo, which I mean it ran a little more than 10 minutes, but when they finally got us to wrestling, it was bell time 8:21. I thought this was a pretty good match too. It winds up going about 9 minutes.
So
Yeah. Ford rolls up Santos for the pinfall at 8:30, and then we see Carlito
right,
coming
and
out
he got a
for
pop.
yeah, he got a big pop, and he was out there to save Santos Escobar from a 2-on-1 beatdown. So they played that card twice tonight,
Yeah,
where a returning star runs out to save a 2-on-1 beatdown post match.
with the pop that Carlito got, it's kind of like, why did they get rid of him? You know,
Yeah,
honestly, I don't know anything about him, but people seem to know who he is, and he eats the apple. That's kind of his gimmick, but
yeah. I
um,
spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. I don't know if he's going to bring that whole gimmick back, but yeah, I mean he's got to be the same age as John Cena because his first match was I think against John Cena. So
oh
their
wow,
careers from a time span are pretty much parallel. So if Cena is not too old and looks like he can still go, Carlito's probably in that same age range and can still go. So
yeah,
yeah, so what have you thought of Carlito aside from just getting these big pops since you're not as familiar with him?
the crowd cheers and they seem to like him. And I mean, tonight it was when he ran in. I think somebody ran in before. I think it was Dakota Kai, and it was just like, who is this? And she didn't get much of a pop, but him returning, people seem to know who he is. Let's see where it takes him. I mean, he was great in the Puerto Rico show, but the Puerto
Yes,
Rico crowd was just fantastic that night.
yes,
So,
and they're gonna love him.
oh yeah, and he was way over there, and everything was over there. That was amazing. It was an amazing show.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Any spots from this match? You mentioned it as you think it's the match of the night. It was more efficient than the main event
we
as
got
far as getting to the action.
some actual wrestling in the in the first opening kind of segment there, like the first minute or so, when they lock up and
Yep,
they're kind of like jockeying for position back and forth. I was like, oh my god, they're actually like it's not just a zillion dives. Sometimes you see that.
yep.
Montez Ford like punches him in the back, and just the force that he hit him with, and man, I'm really Montez Ford has really been impressive. I feel like now that he's not in the goofy tag team as much,
Hmm.
and they're kind of giving a more serious role. He's getting bigger. You could just see he's just getting bigger and bigger. Like he's really working out a lot, which is I like that when you're kind of having like an emerging star like Montez. And
Okay.
in addition to that, he had a pretty cool spot where he hopped off of the turnbuckle and kind of did sort of a stunner or diamond cutter type move. That was a really cool spot. So I've just been really impressed with Montez Ford so far, and it's not a shot at the tag team, but he seems like the stronger worker of the two in the group there.
He
Who's
does
it's
between him
Montez
and
Ford and
Angelo Dawkins,
Angela
right?
Dawkins, right? Yeah, it seems like he should be getting a singles push here.
Yeah, if someone's going to get a singles push, Ford probably could. Dawkins, he plays a role sort of in the finish because he's on the outside, but of course, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde from the LWO. We were asking last week, where are those guys? What happened to them? They come out with Santos tonight. They and Dawkins get into a fight on the outside, and that brings Santos Escobar out to take care of Dawkins, to kind of ambush him. And then as Santos rolls back into the ring, that's when Ford, who's been left in the ring, kind of the distraction there for the babyface, Montez Ford rolls him up, grabs the tights, and gets the pinfall. About a 9-minute match there, and that leads to the post-match and the save. There are still some things about some of these high-flying matches that I don't like. Like some of the spots are just too contrived. The two of them are up on the top turnbuckle. They're setting up this Hurricane Rana off the top turnbuckle by Santos Escobar, and it's just too long. It's too contrived. They're both standing there rigidly, with their arms on each other before he jumps up for the thing. They're just staring at each other like neither one is woozy, hurt, trying to fight out of it. And I wrote down, like, it looks like they're going to kiss.
Which you don't.
They're on the top turnbuckle, just facing each other, staring in each other's eyes. Like, are they going to kiss? What's going on? And then it's like a top turn Hurricane Rana.
Let me tell you something. It's that nasty word. It looks fake.
It looks too. I'm trying to say contrived because, like, I know that when they do the move, like, yes, he really flies through the air and has to take that enormous bump on the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it looks fake if it's supposed to be, simulating hand-to-hand combat. It looks too contrived. I mean, they should, like, pare down the guys who are doing those top turn spots into people who actually know how to do them with proper timing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
LA Knight gets to do the top turn superplexes because LA Knight jumps up to the top rope from the apron, grabs the guy, and they're gone before you know what happened. So LA Knight gets to do that with an opponent who knows how to get in position, first of all, Sheamus,
Right, yeah.
and take the move. Maybe other people who've sold that they're really beaten down because it's a long match and they're really just battling and slugging it out up there and they're maybe dazed and woozy. Maybe then you can see it happening, a bigger wrestler manhandling a smaller wrestler and just climbing to the second rope like Charlotte did to Io Sky for that fall away slam. But other than that, just two guys, doing a choreographed dance move. Come on.
Right.
Come on, be better than that. I know you're athletic and can fly, but be better than that. Like, use those skills in something that looks like a better timed sequence. That's my nitpicky complaint for this stuff. I always get like that. It's my pet peeve. Tell me in the comments if I'm just going off on that too much. If you're watching on the recording or you're watching us live in the chat, let me know if I make, because I do this a lot, let me know if I make too big a deal out of the spots, especially on the ropes and the turnbuckles that look too contrived and I think take too long to work. Do you just want me to just enjoy the athleticism, or do you think I'm right about that? Or do you want to split the difference with me? I don't know. What do you think, John? Do I harp on this too much?
No, I think you're right. I agree. And we are. This is the follow. We're supposed to be harping. And I'll tell you what. We have some people on YouTube. We have some people on Twitch. So feel free to comment and chat if you want to join the conversation. And I'll let you know. I think I didn't put this as the lead, but I think it was a big part of the show. 9:00, we see Logan Paul return and shoot a promo on Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
What did you think of this promo?
I wrote down promo not going too well. Lots of what chants, and it seems like the bored kind. Not like we're playing along, not like Jey Uso is setting them up and they're going along with it. Because we've seen Jey do that. This seemed like crowd is bored. He calls out Rey Mysterio, who obliges by joining him in the ring. And this was funny. He says, Logan reminds him of his son, Dominic.
Right.
So that was good.
Dom got a bigger pop than Logan did.
Right, when he was mentioned, yes.
Reminded me of my son, Dominic. Boo.
Oh, right.
He's not. Dominic Mysterio is so over right now. He's not even in the ring, and he's getting boos.
Yeah, he's on the other brand. He's on Raw, and he's getting booed like crazy. They're ready to boo anybody out of the building. It's just the mention of his name. So, good job for his character coming along this past year. We've noticed that, and that's been a very good surprise. Logan Paul, he's got to get a win at a premium live event. He beat Ricochet technically the last time he wrestled. But if they're going to put a belt on him, that means he has to wrestle, right? Regularly. Yeah. He has to be on the show for a while, for several months.
Yeah. Just kind of going back to the promo, I think he started a little strong, actually. I was actually, I think his mannerisms were good, and that he kind of had an idea what he was doing, but then he went way too long. And also the content of what he was saying, it's just like, he's talking about the boxing match that he had last week, and nobody watched this. And this crowd even knew about it. So it's like rambling on about. So, it's everyone's there to watch WWE. We're not here to we don't all subscribe to Logan Paul,
Right.
So, and the other thing about it is he's shooting the promo like he's a tweener when he clearly has to go heel. And
yes,
he's a heel in real life. I don't think he gets that. Does he not understand that people don't like him? He
has all these followers and subscribers for his content, but yeah, there's probably a good portion of those people who hate watch.
Yes, exactly.
Like they're watching maybe to see the other people in his entourage and just to see if anything stupid happens. Maybe they're watching for the guest, not for him, or they don't like him. And when he gets into a WWE ring, people don't like him. He gets booed.
Yes, I think that's the thing. He should lean into that heel persona more, because he is unlikable, and the things he does in his regular day-to-day life are unlikable. So yeah, trash the crowd, go, take some cheap heat here and trash the crowd a little bit in San Antonio. Really lean into the heel thing. You're not getting over as a face, kid.
I thought this was a work. This has become a shoot. You're just trashing Logan Paul in real life now.
I'm going a little in on Logan Paul, but this is a shoot. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that the promo went a little long, and when you get those what chants, he kind of deserved them. Unfortunately, as he got toward the end, I was like, this isn't a great promo, and he starts to get the what chants, and we haven't heard those in a while because WWE's been on fire. So it's interesting to see a segment go so poorly.
Logan Paul coming back to the WWE and getting this kind of a title shot. Last Crown Jewel around this time of year, he was setting up the showdown with Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel, which I thought was a really good match. And after the Sami Zayn match and the Cody Rhodes match at WrestleMania, I thought that was the best Roman Reigns title defense singles match I've seen. So Logan Paul did really well. This is kind of a step down from Roman Reigns, but do you think it's time for Logan Paul to win a belt and get a real, maybe career-defining victory as a pro wrestler?
I'd be okay with it. I think he's I think bell to bell, he's good. Just a lot of, just not. No, everyone doesn't have to shoot long promos, and you can tell he wants to, and you can tell they kind of are moving in that direction, but he's not there yet. He's not a 10-minute on the mic guy. That's definitely not what you want out of him. But he can perform well in the ring, and he is naturally unlikable, and he's also a person that's big outside of WWE. That's pretty undeniable. He's a big celebrity,
And if he gets a belt, he's going to bring it onto his podcast.
Yeah,
it's going to be on his shoulder. He might be wearing it as a headband. Who knows? If he gets a belt, it's going to be everywhere with Logan Paul. It's going to be in selfies. It's going to be on his YouTube channel, wherever other video streaming channel he's on. And maybe that's what the belt needs. Maybe that would be hilarious to see. And maybe that would make Logan Paul even more unlikable because he's walking around with the belt,
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. That's Logan Paul. I think that uh, it should be interesting. I legitimately am not sure what direction they're going to go in with Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul.
Mhm.
Maybe it is a sign that he'll be wrestling more and he'll have the U.S. title, or he'll lose again, which is a little odd that they're kind of burying him. But it feels like he should probably knock off Rey Mysterio. At this point in Rey Mysterio's career, it's nice to see a great legend like him have a belt and
Mhm.
have the opportunity, but maybe you could pass the torch a bit here.
Yeah, I think Ray's done a good job of putting a babyface shine back onto the belt, which
Mhm.
sets up a big time heel taking it from him. And maybe this is that big time heel. You mentioned maybe squashing. We get to a match after this: Grayson Waller and Austin Theory versus Cameron Grimes and Dragon Lee. This match goes 6 minutes, but there was a commercial in there, incredibly, in a 6 minute match. So we don't see much of this, but Austin Theory hits A-Town down on Cameron Grimes for the pinfall. Um, Not much to talk about here. Did you see anything that you really wanted to talk about for this match?
Um, I think it's is one of the first times I've seen Cameron Grimes do anything in a while.
Okay.
And I thought he was pretty good in there. I don't want to. He's not at this level yet, but he reminds me a little bit of Daniel Bryan in some of the way that he's technically sound in there. Um,
Okay.
but
Oh, what a good comparison. That's something for him to shoot for. That's some praise. I like that.
he's not there. I mean, he's not Daniel Bryan,
Yeah,
probably
it's
one of
not
the
there.
best active wrestlers. I mean, I'd say, yeah, the best active wrestler right now is Daniel Bryan. Brian Danielson now in AEW, but he has some potential there. He knows what he's doing. I think he's not a guy that they pulled out of NXT and you're just like I don't want to bury him, but he's at WWE now. But like Top Dollar was like, whoa,
Yeah.
guy shouldn't be on TV. But I think he represented himself pretty well in the little time that he's had.
Hmm. Right after this, they go into an interview with Kevin Owens. My notes for this segment are why with a question mark. He's been gone for 6 months. We know Kevin Owens.
Yes.
I don't get it. Other things that happen. We got a vignette with Pretty Deadly in a salon, gushing about Taylor Swift. So they got Taylor Swift into the show.
Yes. I noticed that too. I noticed that they pump everyone's anytime Taylor Swift does anything, it's top of the news, right? It's a top current event. So they have
They
to
want to be able to hashtag Taylor Swift along with Elton Strong.
right.
They're sitting in the massage chair, soaking their feet, talking about their massages, which are imminent. And it's the brawling brutes who wind up giving them the massage, which is choking them from behind. And then the 10 beats of the Bower and then dunking their faces in the foot bath. Looks like a continuing rivalry. Do we like this?
Absolutely.
I
Especially
like
these
it
two
too.
teams. Pretty Deadly. I can't believe like when I first saw their gimmick, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be done. Like I really was like, this isn't gonna work. But it's kind of working. Like I think their vignettes are funny, and I think this one was actually pretty good. I mean,
Mhm.
they're silly, but it's a good silly. Like I'm legitimately chuckling sometimes when I see them on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're pulling off this bizarre gimmick.
They're committed to the characters.
Yeah, true, true. There's a tangible character that they're committed to.
Yep.
Mm.
I liked it too. And I do like that they're bringing some more than one show storylines that are not for title belts. Like this is an undercard feud, but it's good that it's a feud. It's I think it's something for each of them to do continuously, and I think it'll be fun. I think their styles will be fun. Let's see here. We've got right before the 9 o'clock hour, John Cena's in the ring saying that he hasn't won a singles match in the WWE in 2002 days. 2002 days. He challenges whoever wants to walk out to face him, which sounds like it's going to be a match, except it's not a match. Solo Sikoa just walks down to the ring and they have a little brawl. Jimmy Uso comes out, so it's 2-on-1, and then someone dressed in all black runs out from the crowd, pulls Jimmy out, and beats the crap out of him. And it's Jey Uso. So there's a little cross-brand tension going on here between the Uso brothers. I like that they're continuing that. Cena winds up hitting the attitude adjustment on Solo Sikoa after ducking the spike attempt. So it's not a real match, but Cena gets to show a little bit and maybe get sort of an unofficial upper hand on Solo Sikoa. That's fun. After the 9 o'clock hour turns there, we get backstage, and it's Nick Aldis, who's now the general manager of SmackDown, who wants Jey Uso escorted out, and Adam Pearce is there as well. And he says he wants Adam Pearce escorted out of the building too. So a little rivalry between the GMs.
We got a message here from Robert Rhodes. Hello from Austin, Texas. I think Dom is right.
Okay, that's referring to some of the high spots being too contrived when they're up on the turnbuckles.
Robert Rhodes, thank you very much for contributing. And
thank you, Robert Rhodes. See, we got people paying attention. So yeah, it's not that we're against the athleticism. It's just make it used better in a match. Don't make me sit there and think this is a rom-com while two guys stand up on the top rope staring at each other.
And Austin, Texas, what a hot city. Definitely a tech hub, and interesting to hear some people in here from Austin, Texas. Welcome, and moving on here. So
don't bury the lead. We love it. So Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce apparently developing a general manager rivalry. Do we think that's good for the brands? I mean, how often are we going to see the two of them on screen together?
I think Adam Pearce has been the good straight man GM that kind of just gets bullied around and people just like yell at him, and he's just trying to figure everything out. Interested to see. I don't know much about Nick Aldis, but he seems like he's got some charisma.
Yes.
So it would be good to kind of utilize his charisma as the GM. The GM thing is a little overdone, but maybe if done correctly, we could sprinkle it in there.
I tell you what, I would not be opposed to seeing at some point Nick Aldis versus Adam Pearce, two multi-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champions.
Yeah,
going at it. They're still of the age where, maybe they couldn't do it every week, but I bet they could still put on a great match.
Maybe that's the direction they're headed.
Would that be something? Nick Aldis versus Adam Pearce.
Yeah, two NWA guys. So
I like it. I think that's the show tonight. Only 3 matches. Is it drive time? Are we heading to distilling all of this down? What do you say? Did I miss anything? What do you want to do?
Let's go ahead and move on to our next segment here. It's drive time, like Dom said. So the thumb drive is where we give a thumbs up or thumbs down to WWE SmackDown. Now, we've done it sometimes at the same time. Sometimes we give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'll go first. Dom goes first. How do you want to do it, Dom?
Up to you. I'm ready. I'm in the ready position. You tell me if we're going simultaneous or not.
Let's do it at the same time.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Boom.
2 thumbs down for this SmackDown.
And I'll tell you what, this is the first time we have given 2 thumbs down in the duration of this segment. So pretty good news for WWE SmackDown as we consistently like it.
Yeah.
This show just was very skippable.
I'll tell you what, in the first hour and 19 minutes of this 2-hour show, we got 1 match.
1 match.
There was 1 match in the first hour and 19 minutes. Then they gave us finally our second match. It was a squash that included a commercial break that went longer than the time that was not in commercial break. There was just too much that was a head shaker on this show. It all looked like too much of an hors d'oeuvre for Crown Jewel, which I understand they have to do that. But there wasn't enough to this show. And I kind of feel bad for the crowd that came out to this live SmackDown expecting, a really good SmackDown. And they got a bunch of promos for Crown Jewel. I hope maybe they got some good dark matches there in the arena if people showed up in time for that. Or maybe they got a dark match afterwards. But for what we saw during those 2 hours from 8 to 10 Eastern, I don't know.
I really thought
I mean,
about
LA Knight was on the show. I love him. I love
yeah.
me some LA Knight. Yeah. But
The opening promo was fine, and like LA Knight, Paul Heyman, sure, like those two are gonna rip it up on the mic, and but the thing is, we kind of got into some promos and segments that weren't so hot. The Logan Paul thing was like pretty cringe. He's getting the what chance,
mhm,
and the Kevin Owens interview wasn't anything spectacular,
why?
and I think that there was just too much boring stuff happening. So
Yeah.
2 thumbs down. The first time we've done it, and we have been high on SmackDown. We've been giving thumbs ups, but they can't all be classics, right, Dom?
They can't all be classics. In fact, they can't even all be midway passing. We do pass fail. We don't give star ratings. I mean, I don't know what I would give this as a star rating, but it definitely gets a thumbs down as a TV show. And maybe that's because the shows have been consistently pretty good, that when they throw out a SmackDown with only 3 matches and stuff that looks like it doesn't belong, it really looks out of place and looks out of place on the downside.
But I'll tell you what is not out of place, Dom. Our next segment, Cheap Heat. Cheap- so Cheap Heat is where we discuss trending topics in the wrestling world, and we make smaller videos out of those and post them. It's been probably our most successful viewership. Videos are come from our Cheap Heat because they're trending topics. Just a little inside baseball here. YouTube kind of will give you a little bit more love if you talk about trending topics. So let's go to the first one here. I'll share Dom's screen, and Dom, if you want to take it away.
Sure, this comes to us from Cinema Blend, WWE Crown Jewel. We talked about Crown Jewel being an early start for us on the East Coast. WWE's taking advantage of that. They're running a house show the same night as Crown Jewel. It looks like in Rochester, New York, they said. Number of superstars are set to bring their talents to a house show in Rochester, New York. So it's not really competing with Crown Jewel, but the fact that they're an ocean apart means that they've really got to cut down the roster of who's available for each show. So people like Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, Becky Lynch, who's a title holder, Io Sky, who's a title holder, Gunther, the biggest name who's not going to be at Crown Jewel has got to be Gunther, who's I think this Monday on Monday Night Raw will be day number 500 of his record-setting Intercontinental reign. So congratulations to Gunther. A lot of good people who are not going to be at Crown Jewel, who may be at Rochester instead. What do you think of the WWE trying to do this and maybe trying to give a double header to the people in the Rochester, New York area? Watch the premium live event Saturday afternoon on Peacock, and then head on out to a live arena event that night. What do you think of this this tactic here?
Very interesting that they run a WWE live show. I do want to say one thing. It is kind of kudos to the depth of their roster that they're able to run a pay-per-view and like they don't need Gunther, even though he probably is the best worker on the roster. They don't even need him in Saudi Arabia, but it is kudos to the depth and the talent that they currently have on the roster. It's there, but we don't get to see Gunther as much as because we only watch SmackDown. So I would have liked to see him selfishly on the Saudi Arabia show, but you know what? It is kind of what it is, right?
It's gonna be a really title belt heavy Crown Jewel. It looks like there's 4 title matches already announced. Drew McIntyre challenging Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Rhea Ripley's going to be in a weird fatal 5-way for her women's WWE Championship match. And then we got, of course, Logan Paul, Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title belt. And it looks like Roman Reigns versus LA Knight. They've teased the contract signing this coming Friday, October 27th on SmackDown, when it moves, I believe, to FS1 for the Universal title. So it's not that they're going to be missing belts at Crown Jewel, but they're going to be missing, they have a lot of belts, and they're going to be missing some stars, and none bigger than that. Gunther has really picked up his game this past year.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's a classic. He's in the conversation. We've talked about what babyface do you want to see take the belt from Roman Reigns. I would not mind seeing a Gunther Roman Reigns showdown and have Gunther become the new Universal Champion, even though he's a heel. I mean, even if he doesn't turn face, I think that would be an epic matchup with those two guys. I mean, they're both tall. They're both kind of power wrestlers. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Right. And we got another comment here. I'm going to show it here.
Yes, please.
Nick should be a heel manager.
So Nick Aldis, so you want to see more of him, or a heel general manager? So you want him to take the heel as the GM, or do you want to see him on screen more managing a particular wrestler? I agree with you. That's in his persona. Either way, he was basically a heel in NWA for his very long multi-year second title reign. Yeah, he has that in him. He has that confident swagger where he can be a heel.
And Robert, just for some cheap heat here, if you could subscribe to the channel, we've been getting more and more subscribers and more views. That would be wildly helpful, and we appreciate the comment.
And you'll get notified when we make cheap heat into smaller videos and other things into smaller videos. Although we do live stream to 3 different platforms, the shorter videos that John, that you make, editing them down and really doing a good job with the production, those basically go only to YouTube. That's where our kind of mother load of content is. So anybody watching who's enjoying the live stream and wants to know if we make shorter content during the week, yes, it's mostly derived from these longer live streams. So if you miss a live stream or you don't have time to go through the whole thing, check out our YouTube channel, subscribe to it so you get notified, and check out our smaller videos. I imagine there will be some cheap heat here, not only about WWE, but cheap heat is also our chance to go to other places, right?
Mm-hmm. So Dom, Baby John is making a little bit of noise. Give me just a sec. If you could take over here, I'd appreciate it.
All right, I'll talk about this report on NWA since we've been mentioning NWA. NWA, they're one of those minor league to the major leagues of WWE and even AEW. We would call a major league promotion since they've got a regular primetime TV deal on cable. NWA is kind of in that Impact and ROH, although ROH is attached to AEW, Major League Wrestling, these other promotions that have a pretty good following thanks to streaming and online platforms and mobile platforms. But NWA is trying to get into the TV deal game here. They've signed 2 TV deals with the CW, which I think is fantastic. CW is not a major network. They're one of the second tier of over-the-air networks. It's still a big deal. I've heard of the CW. Apparently, they're going to put NWA Power on the CW and a reality show about the day-to-day, behind-the-scenes business of the NWA. Billy Corgan's been making a lot of shrewd moves, both creatively and business-wise, for the NWA. I mean, there was the gutsy move of when Tyrus wanted to return to wrestling to welcome him there to the NWA and even give him a title run. Mm-hmm. That was a gutsy move. The fact that Billy is so open to doing interviews and also playing off his notoriety from music, his long career with the Smashing Pumpkins and with Swan and even solo. And now being willing to negotiate on sort of that second tier of broadcast TV networks, the CW. I think this is great. I've watched NWA Power before, just online with their streaming platforms. I wonder if being on the CW means they will not be doing the full shows online again, and then you'll have to get the CW in order to see NWA Power. Either way, this has got to be a big deal. I mean, if they're signing, that means there's probably some guaranteed money in it. It seems like a step up. So kudos to the NWA and Billy Corgan for taking a step up. And kudos to the CW for realizing that pro wrestling is a good seller on TV. As more and more people move away from TV, live sports is a big deal. Live of anything is a big deal, and pro wrestling kind of combines the aspect of sports because it is athletic and it is there is a competition to it. And if they do start doing some live programming as well, this will be more fun. So kudos to everybody involved in this for taking a chance on this. What do you think of the NWA striking a deal here? I mean, this isn't TNT, it's not USA, it's not Fox, it's not TBS. But I mean, CW is something. We've heard of the CW, right? What do you think of this?
I think it's a great idea because you do have the opportunity to get like kind of hardcore fans of pro wrestling to kind of watch the NWA.
Yeah.
And it's true. Everything that's on TV right now everything streaming is pretty much like the streaming platforms have all the pre-made TV shows, and the cable TV, they really need to rely on the live sports. So this is a live sport, and you get the opportunity. They probably got it for pretty cheap. Like, let's face it, people weren't really knocking down the NWA's door to get a TV contract, right?
No, they were on their own YouTube platform, like you and I are right now with "Don't Bury the Lead."
Right, they were just on YouTube. So, pretty good pickup. Maybe you can get some people off of YouTube onto cable, and then maybe you can also. I think it makes sense because I don't even know any shows from the CW, let alone so to make it a little bit more relevant. Oh yeah, it's still around.
Yep, yeah. This was from WrestleZone, so thank you very much, WrestleZone, for the reporting there. We like that. Something that you're going to talk about, I will talk about it a little bit because of who it is, but this is an AEW story. Sting has announced this past week that his final appearance for AEW will be at what do they call this? This is going to be AEW's 2024 AEW Revolution 2024. AEW had this on Dynamite Wednesday night, and then of course it was on their streaming platform. I will not play the sound for you, which I don't think I can do anyway. But there's Tony Schiavone introducing Sting, and Sting comes out and tells everybody that, hey, he's retiring. What do we think about this? A lot of views, 500,000 views in the last few days there, from All Elite Wrestling here. Tons of comments, tons of people who really, obviously people who like AEW, but also who like Sting. What say you about this 64-year-old man announcing he's going to retire?
Pretty unbelievable that he's continued to wrestle into his mid 60s. Yep. He has taken some crazy bumps actually too in some of the matches.
And lately too, right?
Yeah, he might have known that his time is kind of coming to an end and was saying, hey, let's just go for it. I think he's been a pretty good contributor for AEW. He comes out, he has a nostalgia pop. He's kind of propped up Darby Allin with him and helped him along. And Darby's kind of doing his own thing now, which is good because you kind of need to move on from. You can't just be walking around with Daddy, right? You gotta make your own way.
And Sting's part-time too, right? I mean, he's not out there every week. He's just kind of a special attraction.
He's their special attraction, and he's been effective in that role.
Do you like how they've used him? They haven't let him sniff a title belt, have they? Which they should not do at this age.
He can't really wrestle per se, but he can do some tag stuff, and he gets in and he gets the hot tag, and the crowd freaks out, and he does some stuff. So you as an AEW.
So there's Sting's announcement. We love it. And since Sting is done announcing, let's go to Rey Mysterio, coming to us from the USA Network. We had some fun with Hulk Hogan's Mount Rushmore of WWE, of pro wrestler. Doesn't necessarily have to be WWE. Rey Mysterio unveils his personal WWE Mount Rushmore. So the hardest working retired man in wrestling. He's not only in the rings and doing matches and cutting promos, he's given his Mount Rushmore. do we want to take a guess as to who is in Rey Mysterio's Mount Rushmore? Did you read this article already?
Yes. No, I
You
have not.
did.
No, I haven't seen it. So
You have not seen it. Who do you think is in Rey Mysterio's Mount Rushmore? I will give you a hint that there's somebody in it who we've talked about on the previous Mount Rushmore.
Ooh, is Eddie Guerrero on the Mount Rushmore?
Eddie Guerrero is in it. Yes.
I would imagine that makes sense because he's so close with them. Eddie Guerrero, and then on the previous one, Macho Man.
It's not Macho Man. Maybe two people we talked about last time.
Flair.
Flair, I believe it was Flair.
Okay, so you got one is Flair, one is Eddie Guerrero, Hulk Hogan.
It is Hulk Hogan.
Oh.
Hogan, Flair, Eddie, and then one more he gave it to. It's on the screen. I'm sorry I showed it to you.
Kurt
This is
Angle.
Kurt Angle.
Wow. That's an interesting list. That's a little unique.
Right? Because Hogan is the guy who was just bigger than life. Guerrero is the guy who, with Rey Mysterio, did the most to make the luchador style palatable to the U.S. audience. And Guerrero was just great at it. Flair was Ric Flair is the wrestler's wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kurt Angle, who's probably the Ric Flair of the next generation. I mean, has anybody ever been better in the ring than Kurt Angle in the last 25 or 30 years?
So good in the ring, such a legitimate athlete,
Yes.
such a legitimate, I mean, we talk about Brock Lesnar all the time. You really got to put Kurt Angle up there with Brock Lesnar. A gold medal in the Olympics is outrageous to get a gold medal in wrestling.
With a broken freaking neck.
Yes. So that is ridiculous.
How about that for? You can see that Ray is going back in his career. Kurt Angle and Eddie Guerrero were very important to him personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eddie Guerrero was probably his most important feud in WCW and then moving into WWE. Kurt Angle was Ray's most important feud in WWE because it showed Ray not being a light heavyweight cruiserweight, but it allowed Ray to compete with the heavyweights. And that was so important to Ray's career. But Hulk and Rick, I mean, their careers overlapped a little bit, but they never really had an in-ring rivalry. So what do you think of Rey Mysterio recognizing two guys from mostly before his time that were not part of programs with him?
Yeah, I just wanted to pop up another comment here. Rick Robert says Ric Flair wrestled after he was 60.
Oh, yes, his final match they just did. He was, I think, 70.
Just
for Ric Flair's final match that just happened this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Or the past summer. He was 70 and drank too much alcohol and passed out a couple times. Like during his match, he's just lying down on the ring apron because he dehydrated himself. So yes, Ric Flair went out as Ric Flair as a 70-year-old, thinking that he was like 27.
Thinking he was 27 that he could drink the night before.
Yes, and there's an asterisk there. Ric Flair wrestled until he was in his 60s. That's our question about Sting, right? Is the Sting have it in him to put on a wrestling match, or is Sting going to wrestle as a 64-year-old? That's our question: is does the Stinger have it in him?
Yep. I mean, the Ric Flair match, it is what it is. He's a legend. He's always in these Mount Rushmores. Fantastic in-ring ability. Fantastic, obviously on the mic. Maybe the best ever, and that's not hyperbole.
Nope.
And to see him, I mean, like, but it was a freak show, that match, his last match, because he was just so old, and he was like, it's a freak show.
Yes.
All right.
So we're hoping that other wrestlers who are past their prime do not turn into that. But yeah, they also mentioned the pending Logan Paul match with Rey Mysterio for the U.S. Championship coming up. But yeah, these are a lot of fun. Why not? I mean, it gives you some insight into not only who the wrestlers' favorites are, but the tie-ins to their own careers. So yeah, that was fun. Another Mount Rushmore. Thank you, Rey Mysterio. Thank you, the USA Network. We got this through Yahoo Entertainment here. So crediting the people who are publicizing the content that we talk about here. This has been a lot of fun. It's cheap. It's heat. It's cheap heat. I'm out. You got anything else that you want to talk about here?
No, that's good. And what we'll do, folks, here is we'll make smaller videos based off of what we discussed today, with some editing, with some highlights, some photos. So look out for those to come. And yeah, as we're going through here, let's move on down. We're headed toward the Italian goodbye. Dom and I have a tendency to kind of, so this segment is usually where we will start to end the show, but we have a tendency to kind of go on and on and on, and we hang out for a while here.
Yeah.
So
we wind up saying, yeah, it's time to finish up the show, and then 5 minutes later, we're talking about something.
yeah. So unlike the Irish goodbye, which is, and we have done this once on St. Patty's Day, we did the Irish goodbye, and I just ended the show.
Yeah, it's gone before people even know you're out the door. You're blocks away before people even know you left. But yeah, next week they've got to rebound from this show, right? They've announced there's the contract signing for the Universal title, but do they load up an FS1 show knowing that they're not going to pop the number they usually do on Fox, but just do it? What do you think?
It's tough to tell. I guess they'll have to shoot it on like Wednesday and pre-record it, right? Because all those guys are going to Saudi Arabia.
That would be the next week, which would be November 3rd.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we need a better
one more in October. John Cena is supposed to be there. We're getting a John Cena match, right? He's teased that he wants a singles match.
Yeah.
And he hasn't won one in a while. So maybe John Cena's on the program. He's supposed to be signed through October. We talked about that Cheap Heat in a past episode that because of the Hollywood strike, he's available, and they knew he would be available at least through October. So he's supposed to be booked through October. So we should see Cena for the FS1 show on October 27th. We're going to see LA Knight and Roman Reigns in the contract signing. And I don't know, John, contract signings, those are always just so boring, right? They just write their names down on pieces of paper and they just go home and shake hands, right?
Not a big fan of contract signings, my friend.
They're going to throw some furniture and there's going to be a schmaz. we're gonna love us some contract signing physicality, aren't we?
Robert said yes, yes, yes. I don't know what he was talking about specifically, but he agreed.
Is that a Daniel Bryan's reference? Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. I just saw this, Robert. So I'm sorry I missed when you said this, but
very good. We'll have to go back to the timestamps and address exactly what you were saying. But yeah. Thank you, Robert, for sticking with us here and chiming in. It's always fun when we get some other feedback, just besides the two of us yammering on. We'll talk forever, as you've seen. We're wrestling fans, and we like, we're friends and wrestling fans, and we like shooting the breeze.
Yeah. I will also say, what we'll do here is we take the Cheap Heat that we did today, and we'll chop it up. And we'll create these videos and we put them on YouTube. They're performing pretty well. We've had maybe 6 videos that have 1,000 views or more. Some of them have 2,000, 3,000 views. So they're pretty big for us. We're very small YouTubers. We're just starting. So go ahead and check those out if you're watching right now. And subscribe.
We're just into year 2 now. The Rock video that we talked about. The edited clip of The Rock, you were telling me that just passed 100 watch hours on YouTube.
That's right.
That's our first original content to get to 100 watch hours. Thank you to everybody who watched that video and who stuck it out for more than the first, 15 seconds or whatever.
Right.
Thank you to the people with attention spans who watched that enormous 3 or 4 minute video about The Rock's return in Denver and what made him available.
We got another message here. We're going to keep talking, Robert. If you keep talking to us, we'll keep answering.
Eddie and Ray had some great matches. Absolutely. That was a promotion spanning rivalry. They went from WCW and the cruiserweights into WWE with that. and it was a genre-spanning rivalry, bringing the luchador style to the U.S. audience, and it was a promotion-spanning rivalry. It was great for both guys. It was wonderful that Eddie elevated out of that being pigeonholed as a cruiserweight because he had the physique, he could go. For Ray, it was more of a climb, but they each wound up doing it. So it was a great rivalry. It's like the Giants and the Dodgers in baseball. It was the greatest old rivalry when they were the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Dodgers went out to the West Coast, it was like, eh. But then once the Giants followed them there, then like West Coast baseball was born because it was the Giants and Dodgers renewing their rivalry in California. Right. So it's some rivalries they have legs and they can go with the wrestlers no matter where the wrestlers are. And Eddie Ray was one of those. That was beautiful. Yeah. Good. Robert, you sound like a long time wrestling fan. You sound like someone who didn't just, turn on the TV a month or so ago and go, "What's this?"
Yeah, we like that. We like our educated fans to give us feedback like that. So just to make things better. And it's always fun when people chat and comment with us during the show. So always encourage. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. You could just watch. So, Dom, speaking of baseball, there's a Phillies game on right now
there is, isn't there? Phillies Diamondbacks. It's tied 2 games apiece.
Yeah.
You need to go watch that game, don't you?
This is very true. I went out for the game last night. You can hear it in my voice. I was screaming so much at the TV. I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for hopping on, and thanks for the people that hung around. We have 2 people from YouTube and 1 person from Twitch that have watched the entire show. So thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Really appreciate it.
Those of you on Twitch, find us on YouTube. Twitch is wonderful for live streaming, but it's not really good for storing content and for having an archive and historical stuff. If you're on Twitch, please subscribe to us there so you know when we go live, but also know that we have more content available for you on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you wherever you're finding us and wherever you're watching us.
And the 2 people that are on YouTube, it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe.
Help us hit our next benchmark. We're trying to get to the 300 mark of subscribers. We're close. We're getting there. We're close.
Yeah. So we're very close to 300 subscribers. You could be one of those subscribers that pushes us toward 300.
Excellent.
Sting can wrestle with the best of them at 60 plus. So Robert's saying we might have a good match here with AEW. With Sting.
Robert, from your mouth to the booker's ears.
Right. Maybe.
Hey, AEW, if you're watching, don't bury the lead. Take some advice from Robert Rhodes here. If Sting can just work on his flexibility and just aim for a singles match, you've got some people here who want to see Sting go out as a singles wrestler, putting on the best match that he possibly can.
Yep. There you go.
Easy to say when it's not us who have to do it. I'm at 64 and having to take bumps. So, yes, I want to see him at 64 taking bumps.
All right, Dom. Well, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone that watched today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to say it again. Go ahead and subscribe and check out our other videos. Hit that like button. That's also helpful. And feel free to comment. And thanks so much for joining. Dom, thank you very much for joining. And have a great rest of your weekend. Go Phillies.